Rain fell hard on the roof of the old space station, tapping like fingers on cold metal. The market below was full of lights, strange smells, and busy feet. Aliens of many kinds moved through the narrow paths, selling tools, food, and black market tech. But no one noticed the small girl running fast between them, her arms tight around a box of glowing blue medicine. Behind her, a loud voice shouted, "Stop that thief!" Security bots rolled in fast, with red eyes flashing, pushing through the crowd. The girl was fast, her feet bare and quick. But she was small, and the station was old. Her foot slipped on wet metal, and she hit the ground hard. The box flew from her arms and rolled to the feet of a tall officer. In seconds, the bots surrounded her. Weapons aimed, people in the market paused. Whispering, pointing. Some laughed, others looked away. "Just another street rat," someone said. "Probably stealing to sell it for scraps." The officer picked up the box and looked down at the girl. Her clothes were dirty. Torn in places, her face was thin, eyes wide with fear. Her hair looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks. She didn't speak, she just sat there. Breathing hard, waiting, one of the bots said. Punishment unit activated, but the officer, a tired man named Rico, raised his hand. "Wait," he said. "Let me ask her something first." He knelt beside the girl and said, "Why did you steal this? Who told you to do it?" The girl looked at him with big, watery eyes. She shook her head slowly. Her lips trembled. Then she whispered something so soft. Rico had to lean closer to hear it. "I swear I'll never do it again. I did it for my mom." Silence fell. The market went quiet. Even the bots paused. Rico blinked. His voice was softer now. "Your mom. Where is she?" The girl looked down at her hands and said nothing. Rico stood up and turned to the bots. "Deactivate punishment." "I'll handle this. You are not authorized," the bot replied. "I'm making it official," Rico snapped, showing his ID. "She's under my protection until further review." The bots backed off. Rico sighed and looked at the crowd. "Show's over. Go back to your business," slowly. The people turned away, some shaking their heads, others whispering still. Rico helped the girl stand. She winced from pain, but didn't cry. "What's your name?" he asked as they walked toward the station checkpoint. She hesitated, then whispered, "Laya, that's your real name?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead of the station jail. Rico took her to a quiet break room near his post. He gave her warm tea and a food bar. She stared at it for a while, then ate slowly, like someone not used to kindness. Rico sat across from her, watching carefully. "You said your mom's sick," he said. "Where is she?" Leah looked up, her eyes still afraid. "She's hiding." "In the lower rings," she whispered. "She's very sick. I tried to find help, but no one came. The medicine shops were too expensive. I waited 2 days. Then I just took it." Rico rubbed his face with both hands. This wasn't normal. Most kids who stole had gangs behind them, or worse. But this one? Something about her story felt real and painful. "Do you know what's in that box?" he asked. She shook her head, only that it could help her breathe better. Rico opened the box. Inside was a blue syringe, glowing softly. It was marked with a company logo Juan Rico didn't trust. It was top-grade medicine, not for sale to the public. Only for high-level medical units. "Where did you even find this?" he asked. Leah looked nervous. "A ship docked 2 days ago. I saw them move crates into the back of the market. I waited, and when no one was watching, I took one box." Rico stared at her. That ship. He remembered it. It belonged to Sarico Corp, one of the biggest biotech companies in the sector. And if Laya had stolen from them, they'd be looking for her. Not to arrest her, but to erase her. "Leah," he said carefully, "your mother. Did she work with them before?" The girl went pale. She nodded slowly. She used to. Before she got sick, she said they were doing something wrong, and when she tried to stop them, they made her run. Rico leaned back. Feeling cold, this was no normal theft. This girl was in deep danger. Her mother had secrets people would kill for, and now? The girl who just wanted to save her mom had become part of something much bigger. He looked at her again, this time not as a thief, but as a daughter trying to fight a giant with bare hands. "Okay, Leah," he said quietly. "We're going to your mom. Right now." Rico held the box of medicine in one hand and Leah's small hand in the other as they moved through the quiet halls of the station. The crowds were gone now, the lights dimmer. Only a few cleaning bots moving along the metal floors. Rico's thoughts were spinning. He had been a peacekeeper on the outer rings for years. He had seen thieves, liars, and broken people. But Leah was different. She was scared, but brave. She lied. But for someone she loved, and that changed everything. He guided her toward the lower levels far below the clean decks where most humans and aliens worked. This was where old systems hummed, pipes leaked, and the lights sometimes flickered like tired eyes. No one came down here unless they had no choice. Or something to hide. "Are you sure it's this way?" Rico asked, glancing back. Leah nodded. "I remember the pipes. They buzz a little. My mom said we have to stay where the noise covers our voices." Rico didn't like the sound of that. He had heard rumors about Sirico Corp using hidden mics to track escaped workers. Some said they tested medicine on the poor. Then erased the records, but there was never proof. Only silence and fear. They passed broken doors, old vending machines with no power, and signs peeling from the walls. Rico walked slower, listening for movement. Any sound could mean trouble. Finally, Leah stopped in front of a thick metal door, half covered by a broken sign that read, "Storage Unit B12. She knocked in a strange pattern too quick. One slow, then silence, after a few seconds. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was darkness, then a low voice, weak and tired. "Leah." The girl ran in. Rico followed, hand near his stun pistol, just in case. But what he saw froze him. A woman lay on a thin mat, wrapped in a blanket that looked more like a rag. Her face was pale, lips cracked, and her breathing sounded rough. Each breath came like it was being pulled from deep inside her chest. Her eyes opened slowly when she saw Leah. "You came back," she whispered. "You shouldn't have." "I got the medicine," Leah said proudly. "I had to take it." "I'm sorry," Rico stepped forward. "I'm Officer Rico," he said. "I saw what happened. I chose not to report it. But now I need answers." The woman coughed hard, her body shaking. "Of course you do," she said. "You wouldn't be the first to find me." Rico placed the box beside her. "This is from Sirico Corp. Why were they carrying this? What did you do to make them want you gone?" The woman looked up at the ceiling, her voice fading in and out. "I was a scientist," she said. "I worked in their medical labs. We were building treatments for lung diseases caused by space dust, but something changed. The company stopped caring about cures. They wanted control. They made the sickness worse in low-income zones, so they could sell expensive medicine later." Rico frowned. "That's not just illegal. That's evil. I tried to speak out," she continued. "But before I could, they shut me out, erased my files, and marked me as dead. I ran with my daughter. I've been hiding ever since." Leah held her mother's hand tight. "She's telling the truth," she said. "She never lies to me." Rico believed her. The woman's eyes weren't afraid. They were tired, like someone carrying a weight for too long. He opened the box and pulled out the glowing syringe. "Let me help," he said. Carefully, he injected the medicine into her arm. The glow faded as it entered her bloodstream. A few minutes passed, and her breathing slowly calmed. Her chest rose smoother now, not shaking so much. She smiled a little and whispered, "That's better." Laia hugged her tight. Tears in her eyes, Rico stood nearby, watching silently. "You'll still need care," he said. "This is one dose." "Not a cure, I know," the mother said. "But it gives us time, and now that you know the truth, they'll come for you too." Rico looked around the dark room, suddenly aware of how exposed they were. "Then we move. Now," he said. "There's an old comms tower not far. We can try to send your story off-world if we get evidence. People will believe you." The woman nodded weakly. "I saved a few files before I escaped, hidden on a drive." Behind the vent, Leah reached under a loose metal panel and pulled out a small chip. Rico took it and placed it in his coat pocket. His mind raced with plans, paths, and risks. He had just crossed a line, and there was no going back. Footsteps echoed outside the door. Rico held up a hand for silence. A voice crackled from a comm unit near the floor, robotic and cold. "Unauthorized movement detected near storage B12. Units dispatched." Rico pulled Laia close and whispered, "We need to leave now." The girl nodded. Her mother looked at them both and said, "I can't run. Not like this." "You take her?" "No," Laia said, grabbing her mom's arm. "I won't leave you again." Rico's jaw tightened. "You don't have a choice. They're coming. We stay. We all die." The mother leaned in and kissed Leah's forehead. "Be brave, baby. I love you." Rico opened the back hatch. Smoke already filling the far hall. Sirens started to blare. Leah sobbed as he pulled her away. Her mother's last words stayed in the air, soft as the smoke that swallowed the room. "I did it for my daughter. I only ever wanted her to live." Smoke filled the narrow hallway as Rico pulled Leah through the back tunnel. Her small hand trembled in his, but she didn't slow down. Not even once. Behind them, alarms screamed. Metal doors slammed shut, and security bots rolled fast toward storage B12. Laia looked back only once, her eyes full of tears. Her mother's last words echoed in her ears like a promise that would never fade. Rico led her down an old maintenance shaft. Dark and dusty, the lights above flickered weakly, and the smell of oil and rust was strong. They stopped in an old service room, safe for now. Rico locked the door and turned on a small emergency light. It buzzed softly, casting a red glow across the metal walls. Laia sat on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest. "We left her," she whispered. "She's still back there." Rico knelt beside her. "She made a choice to protect you," he said gently. "We can't waste that. We're going to finish what she started." He pulled out the small data chip the mother had hidden behind the vent. "This," he said, "this might be the only proof we have." Rico connected the chip to his portable reader. The screen flickered, then loaded a hidden folder labeled Project Dustflower. A file opened, showing lines of code, medical reports, and video recordings. Laia crawled closer, her eyes wide. One video began to play. It showed her mother in a lab, wearing a white coat, her voice calm but urgent. "They won't tell you this," the woman said in the video. "But the dust coming from planet Taros 9 isn't natural. It was modified by Sirico Corp to carry synthetic spores. These spores affect human lungs slowly, making them weak, making them cough. And then Sirico sells the cure for a price only the rich can pay." Rico froze. "They made the disease themselves," he said. "And now they sell the cure to control people." Another file showed a map red zones marked where the air was most dangerous and the worst areas. The lower rings of the station where poor families lived. Laia's mother had tried to warn them. She had gathered evidence, written reports, even recorded herself trying to stop the project, but each time she sent it to someone. The messages were blocked, erased, or ignored. They silenced her. Rico said they made her a ghost. Leia wiped her eyes. She said she wanted to save people, not hurt them. She did save them, Rico said. And now it's our turn to do the same. Suddenly, a loud metal crash echoed outside the door. Rico grabbed his blaster and moved quietly. One of the wall vents popped open, and a figure rolled inside. Rico raised his weapon fast, but stopped just in time. It wasn't a soldier. It was a boy, about Leia's age, thin and pale, with dark eyes and strange gloves that sparked with blue energy. He stood up slowly, hands raised. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "Not unless you make me." Leia stepped back. "Who are you?" The boy looked at her, then at the chip in Rico's hand. "They told me to take that back," he said. "Said it was stolen." Rico narrowed his eyes. "And who are they?" The boy's voice lowered. "Sir Rico, I was born in their lab, raised by them. Trained to track and retrieve data. They said the woman who made that file caused the sickness. They said she was dangerous." Leia stepped forward, her eyes burning. "She was my mom," she said. "And she tried to save everyone, not hurt them. You were lied to." Just like she was betrayed, the boy looked confused. Something in his face cracked for a moment. "She had a daughter?" he asked softly. Rico lowered his blaster. "You've only heard their side," he said. "But you don't have to follow their lies. You're free to choose." The boy's hands shook slightly. The blue energy faded. He stepped back toward the vent. "If what you say is true, then they'll come for all of you. They won't stop. Not until the whole station forgets her name. Then help us," Leia said. Her voice small but strong. "Help us tell the truth." But the boy didn't answer. He looked at Leia one last time, then disappeared back into the vent, leaving silence behind. Rico stared at the wall for a long moment. "He might come back," he said, "but not as an enemy." They couldn't stay in the service room much longer. The station was scanning every level, looking for movement. Rico opened the floor hatch that led to the oldest tunnels. Places so forgotten they weren't even on the maps anymore. "We head to the comms tower," he said. "If we can send this to the surface channels, to people off station, maybe someone will listen." Leia nodded. Holding tight to the chip, her mother had given everything to protect the truth. And now it was her turn. As they climbed down into the dark, the air grew cold. But the fire in their hearts burned brighter. This wasn't just about a stolen medicine anymore. It was about exposing the lie that poisoned a planet. And the little girl with no name was about to become the voice that shook the galaxy. The air in the old tunnel was thick with dust and silence. Each step echoed like a warning. Rico led the way, flashlight in one hand. Blaster in the other, Leia followed close behind, hugging the data chip to her chest. Her legs ached, but she didn't say a word. She was stronger now, not because the danger was gonna, but because she knew the truth had to live. Above them, the station's alarms had changed. No longer just alerting about intruders, they were now hunting, sweeping the rings with drones and kill units. Rico had activated a full security lockdown, not to protect people, but to silence them. Rico paused at an old maintenance ladder. "We go down here," he said. "Takes us straight to the comms tower, but it's a rough path." Leia didn't hesitate. "I'm ready," she whispered. They climbed down, the metal rungs shaking under their weight. Below, the tunnels opened into a wide area full of broken machines, hanging cables, and steam pouring from cracked pipes. It was like walking through the lungs of a dying beast. Suddenly, a sound echoed behind them, quick, sharp footsteps. Rico spun around, gun raised. "Run," he said to Leia. Now, Leia turned and ran as fast as she could. Not looking back, her heart pounded louder than her steps. Behind her, she heard a blast, then another. And then a loud voice shouting, "Target acquired." Proceeding with capture. But it wasn't a bot. A figure dropped from the pipes above. Landing in front of her, it was the boy from before. The one who had broken in through the vent. This time, his gloves glowed brighter, his face harder. "I gave you a chance," he said coldly. "You didn't run. I'm not afraid of you," Leah said. Though her voice shook, "You should be," he said. "I was built to hunt people like you." Rico appeared from behind. Aiming his weapon, "You're not a hunter," he said. "You're a prisoner, just like us. You just don't see the cage yet." The boy didn't move. He looked at Leah. Then at the data chip in her hand. "Is it true?" he asked. "All of it." "Yes," Leah said, stepping closer. "You saw her face. You felt her words. They lied to you. They lied to all of us." The boy's hands trembled. His energy gloves flickered, then went dark. He took a slow breath. "They said if I failed this mission, they would shut me down." "You don't have to go back," Rico said. "Come with us. Help us end this." The boy looked down. Then back up with sad eyes. "I don't know how to be anything else." "You start by choosing," Leah said. "That's how you stop being a weapon." He didn't reply. But he stepped aside and pointed to a narrow service door. "This way," he said. "It's faster. It's not safe. But they won't expect you to take it." Rico nodded. "What's your name, kid?" The boy paused. "They called me Unit K429. Leah frowned. "That's not a name. That's a number." "I don't have a real one," he said. "Then I'll give you one later," Leah said with a small smile. "If you help us," the boy looked surprised, like he had never been offered anything before. He nodded once and disappeared back into the shadows. Rico and Leah entered the path he showed them. It was narrow, the walls wet with condensation. Sometimes they had to crawl under hanging pipes or jump over small gaps in the floor. But no drones followed them. The path was working. "We're close now," Rico said. "The comms tower is just ahead." Past the coolant chamber, they reached the end of the tunnel and opened a maintenance hatch. On the other side was a wide room filled with large blue tanks and steam hissing from valves. But what stopped them wasn't the noise, it was the group waiting inside. 4 Sariko guards stood near the central pillar. Their armor black, their rifles glowing red. One of them turned and shouted, "They're here." Rico pulled Leah back and slammed the hatch shut. "Back, back." He shouted, but it was too late. A blast shook the tunnel and threw them both to the ground. Leah coughed hard, ears ringing. Rico grabbed her and crawled into a side shaft. Bleeding from a cut on his head. "We can't go back," he said. "We're trapped." Leah looked around. Then saw something, another hatch above them marked Emergency Vent Tower Access, up there. She cried. Rico boosted her up. Then followed quickly. The shaft was tight, but lead straight up toward the tower's base. Behind them, more boots echoed, voices getting louder as they climbed. Leah whispered to herself, "I can do this. I have to, for Mom." For everyone, at the top, they found an old ladder and pulled themselves into a small access hallway. They had made it out, but the tower was still ahead. Rico collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. "This is more than just survival now," he said. "This is war." Leah looked at the chip in her hand, her eyes glowing with determination. "Then let's make sure they hear us." The tower hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Rico leaned against the wall, still bleeding from the head. His face pale but focused. Leah crouched beside him, holding the data chip tightly. Her heart pounded in her chest, not just from fear, but from everything building inside, hurrying, gore, sadness, and something else too. Something harder to name. "We made it," she whispered. "We're at the base of the comms tower, yeah?" Rico said with a weak smile. "Now we just have to climb to the top. Past every guard they've thrown at us." She looked up the long vertical shaft ahead. Ladders and cables stretching toward a flickering light above. That was their Gotha broadcast chamber, where they could upload the files, the videos, the truth. They started to climb, Rico slower now, every movement a fight. Leah led the way, determined, suddenly. A soft clang echoed behind them. They froze. A shadow moved at the bottom of the shaft. Then a voice called up, calm and steady. "I told you they would come for you." It was the boy again, the Sirico hunter, known only as Unit K-429. His boots made no sound as he climbed up toward them. But this time, his weapons weren't drawn. His eyes weren't hard. They were searching, thinking, confused. Rico reached for his blaster, but Leia stopped him. "Wait," she said. "He didn't shoot us before." The boy reached their level and stood still. "Not blocking the path, just watching. They sent me again," he said softly. "They said this was my last chance to redeem myself." "You didn't have to come," Rico said. Breathing heavy, "You could have disappeared." "You knew the truth." The boy looked at Leia. "I needed to hear more. I needed to understand." Leia stepped forward. Standing between Rico and the boy, "Why do you follow them?" she asked. "Why do you fight for people who only used you?" The boy didn't answer right away. He looked down at his gloved hands, the energy inside them buzzing faintly. "Because it's all I've ever known," he whispered. "They made me, trained me, told me I was saving lives by stopping threats like you." Rico scoffed. "You're not a tool, kid. You're a person. You can choose something better." The boy's eyes narrowed. "Can I?" he asked. "When I have no name, no past, no family, nothing but orders?" "You can have more," Leia said, her voice soft but strong. "I didn't have anything either, just my mom and hope. But I chose to fight for what was right. You can too." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, he saw not a target, not a mission, but someone like him, lost, scared, but still brave. "I don't even know how to begin," he said. "You already have," Leah replied. "You didn't shoot us, you didn't take the chip. That was your first choice." Silence filled the shaft. Then the boy stepped aside and said, "Let me help you reach the top. I know another path. I memorized the tower's layout. I can guide you around the guards." Rico raised an eyebrow. "Why the change of heart?" The boy looked at him. "Because if I don't do this, I'll always be their weapon." Rico nodded slowly. "All right, but one trick, and I put you down." "Fair," the boy said. They followed him through a hidden hatch behind the shaft wall. The new path was tighter but safer, leading through power conduits and old wiring chambers. The boy moved like he had walked these halls 1,000 times. Leia followed close, her heart unsure, but her mind clear. As they moved, Leah asked, "Do you want a name?" The boy hesitated. "Names are for people. I'm not sure I'm one yet." "You are to me," she said. "I'm going to call you Kai." "Kai," he repeated, testing it on his tongue. "It feels strange. You'll get used to it," she smiled. "It means restoration in Old Earth tongue." My mom liked names with meaning. He didn't smile, but something in his eyes softened. "Then I'll try to live up to it." They reached a service elevator that would take them to the upper floor of the tower. But as they stepped inside, the doors closed behind them. Manned red lights flashed above. "Trap," Rico said, raising his weapon. "They knew we'd come." The elevator jerked, stopped between floors, and a cold voice echoed through the speaker. "Unit K-429, your failure has been recorded. The subjects are to be terminated immediately." Kai stood frozen. Then he stepped forward, placed his palm on the panel, and overloaded the system with his energy. The doors blasted open sideways, sparks flying. "We go now," he shouted, pulling Leia and Rico out into the upper corridor. They ran, alarms blaring, Leah clutching the chip like it was her heart. They didn't stop until they reached a metal door marked Broadcast Core. The final step, they had made it this far. Not by power, but by trust, and the boy once sent to destroy them was now their guide. The door to the Broadcast Core hissed open with a heavy groan. Laia stepped inside first, her heart pounding like thunder. Behind her, Rico limped forward, one arm pressed to his bleeding side. And Kai followed close, scanning every corner of the room. They had made it this far, but they all knew it wasn't over yet. The chamber was large, filled with glowing screens, data towers, and one central terminal that controlled the station's communication systems. On the walls, cables pulsed like veins, and above them, a large round window looked out over the endless black of space. It was quiet, too quiet. "This is it," Rico said, his voice low. "This is where the truth goes free." Leah nodded and stepped up to the main console. Her hand shook as she inserted the chip her mother had hidden. The screen blinked once, then displayed a prompt. "Upload all files, confirm." She stared at the screen, her eyes filling with tears. "You trusted me, Mom," she whispered. "Now I trust you." She pressed the button, the screens lit up one by one. Each showed a different recording her mother's voice, lab reports, secret experiments, maps of poisoned air zones, and most of all, the message, "They built the sickness," her mother had said, her voice echoing across every speaker. "They made it to control us, to sell the cure, to pick who gets to live and who gets to suffer." Rico watched, stunned, as the signal spread to every floor, every hallway, every monitor in the station. From the food courts to the hangars, from the factories to the sleeping quarters. Faces turned toward the screens in silence. Reading, listening, awakening. "She did it," Rico whispered. "Leah, you did it." But the moment didn't last long. A deep alarm echoed across the tower, and red lights flashed overhead. A robotic voice announced, "Unauthorized transmission detected. Emergency lockdown engaged." Heavy doors slammed shut around the Broadcast Core, sealing them inside. On the screen, a new signal tried to override the broadcast but failed. The truth had already gone out, and people were watching. The station could not unsee what it had seen. Suddenly, the floor shook. A section of the wall exploded inward, and elite Sirico soldiers stormed in, dressed in heavy armor, weapons ready. Leading them was a tall man in a white uniform, Sirico's director of security. His face was cold, his eyes like ice, and his voice was sharper than a blade. "End the upload," he said, stepping forward. Now, Rico raised his blaster but was shot in the shoulder before he could fire. He dropped hard, groaning in pain. Laia screamed and tried to reach him, but Kai pulled her back. The director turned to Kai. "You were ours," he said, "and now you betray your makers." "I'm not your tool anymore," Kai said, stepping between Laia and the soldiers. "I'm not Unit K429. I'm Kai." The director raised his hand, signaling the guards, "Kill them all," and wiped the servers. But before they could act, the room lights flickered, then dimmed, and then the unexpected happened. The screen behind Leah lit up once more. Her mother's face appeared again, this time speaking live from an old camera deep in the station. Her voice was weak but clear to all watching. "This is not just my story. This is your truth too. If you are poor, sick, or forgotten, you are their target, but you are not powerless. You are not voiceless." Across the station, people began to shout. Crowds gathered in halls. Workers shut down machines. Shopkeepers smashed Sirico scanners. The lower rings began to rise, one voice at a time. The soldiers in the broadcast room hesitated, unsure what to do. One of them even lowered his weapon slightly, the truth shaking his loyalty. Laia stood tall, her voice louder than it had ever been. "You can stop us," she said, "but the truth is out. You can't silence everyone." Kai stepped beside her. "We're not afraid anymore." The director's face twisted with anger. He stepped forward to destroy the console himself until a shot rang out from behind him. One of his own guards had turned, weapon shaking in his hands. "I have a daughter," the guard said, "and she breathes this poisoned air too." Chaos exploded. Some guards fought back, but others turned on Sariko. The room became a storm of shouting, movement, and fire. Rico pulled Lie to cover, while Kai leaped into the fray. His gloves flashing with blue light, he fought not to kill but to protect, blocking blasts, disabling weapons, freeing others in the middle of the chaos. Leah crawled to the console and pressed one final command: send full data off-world. The screen showed one last message: data sent successfully. The director tried to escape, but Rico stood in his way. "Wounded but standing, you lost," Rico said, "because you never understood one thing." The director growled, "What's that?" "That even the smallest voice," Rico said, looking toward Leah, "can shake the biggest empire." The broadcast tower burned behind them. But the truth was free and across the stars. Others had started to listen. Smoke still drifted in the air as the tower fell quiet. The battle had ended, but the silence that followed felt even louder. Leah stood at the edge of the room, watching the broken screens flicker. Her heart was beating fast, her hands were scraped and dirty. But her eyes held something new: strength. The data was gone now. Sent beyond the stars, outside the station. Satellites had picked up the broadcast, other stations had received it. Ships in nearby systems had recorded it, and most importantly, people had seen it. Not just the rich, not just the powerful, but the forgotten, the workers. The children who had coughed every night without knowing why. Rico sat on the floor, his shoulder bandaged with cloth torn from a broken guard's uniform. He looked tired but proud. Kai stood nearby, silent, his eyes scanning the wreckage. There was no more fighting to do, but something inside him still waited. Unsure of what he was now, no longer a weapon, not yet a person. Leah walked over and sat beside Rico. She looked at him and then at Kai. And then down at the data chip she still held. "Burned at the edges but whole. It's done," she said softly. "I think my mom would be proud." "She'd be more than proud," Rico replied. "She'd call you what you are now, a hero." Leah shook her head slowly. "I'm just a girl who stole some medicine." "No," Kai said. "Finally speaking, you're the girl who stole hope and gave it to everyone else." They sat in silence for a long time, until the doors to the broadcast room opened again, this time. Not with soldiers, but with people, workers from the lower rings. Nurses, old men, mothers with children. They came not to fight but to thank. Some carried signs, others brought tools. Some held nothing but tears in their eyes. One old engineer stepped forward, his hands rough with grease. "I saw your mother's message," he said. "I knew her once, long ago. She helped my son when no one else would. And now you've helped all of us." Leah didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. Her chest ached with emotion she didn't have words for. In the days that followed, everything changed. Sariko's control over the station broke apart. Workers refused to obey. Factories stopped production all over the galaxy. Investigations were launched. Lawsuits, charges. Shutdowns one after another. Sariko's dark empire began to fall. Rico was offered a medal by the Planetary Council, but he refused it. "Give it to her," he said, pointing to Leia. "She earned it." Leia didn't want medals. She only asked for one thing: a small space to live, not far from the tower, where she could plant something green, something alive. They gave her a small dome near the outer gardens, and there she built a home. Brick by brick, with her own hands. Kai stayed too, working with tech crews to rebuild what Sariko had broken. He never went back to being Unit K 4-9. The name died with the old tower. Now he walked with his own steps, chose his own words, and every time someone asked, "Who gave you that name?" he would smile and say, "A girl who changed everything." Rico still watched over them, like an older brother or a tired soldier who'd finally found something worth protecting. He came by often, sometimes to help, sometimes just to sit quietly and remember. And though her mother was gone, Laia spoke to her often. Not with words, but in action. Every flower she planted, every child she helped. Every time someone said thank you, it was for her. One day, a ship landed outside the station. It carried a message from Earth, from High Command. A woman in a silver uniform stepped out and read it aloud. "Talia, daughter of Dr. Talia Wren," she said. "Your actions have shaken governments, freed thousands, and brought justice to the dark places of the galaxy in honor of your courage. You are invited to speak at the United Planet Assembly." Laia looked down at her dirty clothes, her rough hands, her worn shoes. "I don't know how to give speeches," she said quietly. "You already did," Rico told her. "You gave the whole galaxy a reason to believe again." Kai nodded. "Go tell them what it means to fight, to hope, and to choose." So she did. The girl who once stole medicine for her mother now stood before leaders, warriors, and millions of viewers across the stars. And she said the words that started it all. "I swear I'll never do it again. I did it for my mom," she said, "but now I do it for all of you." And somewhere, far beyond the stars, someone was smiling, knowing her daughter had finished what she started.